go. Hold on, I'll be right there. There it is. Hi, how are you? Completely frank right off the bat. I'm moving a little slow today, considering the news I got yesterday. I posted about it, and so I went back and forth about whether or not to do a show at all. And I may even still be on the fence. We'll see. But there's so much craziness that I figure, at some point it's almost like weeding a garden. If you don't get at it every single day, eventually it will just overwhelm you. So when I take days off, sometimes we get behind. Hold on one second. I have to open up my chat so I can see you guys. And then, I'm looking back on days where there were clips that I saw that ultimately, like, the criticisms, the jokes, the stories, the stuff I have to tell, especially when it comes to the factual stories around, economic picture, trade stuff, the stuff they say about the Ukraine war, blah, blah, blah. Which I mean, let's be distinct, the Russian war on Ukraine. When I don't cover those, I feel like that's a stack. For those of you who don't know, my oldest friend on earth passed away yesterday. Seen him off and on over the last, 10 years or so. He lived, and he's from Kentucky, where I grew up. This is my buddy Kurt. Sometimes I've told you guys about how, whenever we talk about video games and how, kids today don't realize, even people I think in the 90s don't even realize how difficult it was. But we used to load video games, he and I, on his Apple desktop computer that he got because his dad was on the school board and Apple sent them one for free. He ended up being a programmer and a systems analyst for a tech company. That was his, he did a lot of, he just built a career in computers basically because of that head start of having a computer in his house. Amazing. And he was gay. He and his partner got married in 2015. And I've told you guys, many times that, like, growing up, even in Kentucky, I basically had like 4 kids I used to run around with, like my best friends that our little group. And Kurt was my number one best friend because he was my neighbor. We spent more time hanging out than, almost we did with our parents sometimes, because we lived out in the sticks and we were latchkey kids. And we went to Boy Scout camp together. We were in Boy Scouts at our troop together. We went, to elementary school, middle school, and the first year of high school together. I knew him longer and earlier in my life than anybody, really, as a lifelong friend. And it was always, when he came out to me in the late 90s, and with some concern that he had, held it back or was afraid to mention it. And I was always glad that one of the gifts I was able to kind of give him as a friend was Queer as Folk. Was that my show, hopefully, and I think it did, played some part in the openness of his life going forward past, when the show was on, and the ability for him and his partner to get married in 2015. And so, knowing that, our friendship was that long and able to, even after I didn't see him all that much, as we grew up and, he continued to live in Kentucky. Many of you may not know, when I was 14, I moved from Kentucky to Chicago, lived with my dad, went to high school there for 4 years. And then as soon as I was finished with high school, I packed all my shit in my car and I drove to LA. So I was off into the big bad world, even at 14. And most of the people I grew up with up to that point stayed in Kentucky or in the very near, the general area, like southern Indiana, Ohio, even Tennessee. They didn't go, it didn't move very far. And even if they did, they'd come back. And so I was always the one that was kind of out and about. And so I would see them at holidays and the like when I would go back and see my mom. But those strands grew long and thin over the years. And then after I had my son, I started going back to Kentucky a lot more because, I was on the, parade your child before the relatives tour that you do every holiday. And so I got to start seeing people again that I hadn't seen in many, many years after 2012 and 2011-ish. That was when the real, those moments got to happen. And that's where I was at least able to kind of touch base with some of those friends, including Kurt and my buddy Corey and some of the other guys who would come to my stand-up shows when I would come and perform in Kentucky that I had known since I was a kid. So so that's a big thing, and I'm holding it together. But hopefully today's show will make me disgusted, aggravated, weirded out enough to soldier through it. especially considering the Madison Cawthorn tape that came out today. I don't know how many of you saw the Madison Cawthorn tape, and I think many of you, if you did, were affected. This is an artist recreation of it, because I was trying to scroll around finding a copy of it that I could actually show on the air, because so much of there's not edited versions of it. There's a couple where they've kind of blocked out what's going on, but yeah, you can check it out. The irony is, and I think for a lot of people, that especially what Madison Cawthorn is accused of doing or what have you, is on the left side of the spectrum, on the Democratic side of the world, not that big a deal. As long as it's consensual, we don't really care. The difference is, the just absolute hypocrisy and the lack of care for people like yourselves in that case. And if the question is, hating yourself so much that, or being brought up to hate yourself so much that you'll take it out on other people like yourself, that's a horrible life to live. And I know people, having grown up in Kentucky, who went through similar stuff. These days, it's stranger and stranger. These days, there's not a real, there's less and less of a reason for it, right? And hold on, I don't know. You guys can look it up on your own. I'm not gonna post it, but or show it without some sort of little edit over it. But the curiosity about it, I think, that most people have, is that it was right after he came out with this whole Republicans invite me to Coke orgies, and he came out about this, and then all of a sudden this stuff started to come out. Now the stuff with him and his cousin / scheduler, this guy. And again, the issue here is not lifestyle or sexuality. The issue here is the hypocrisy of having this as a secret lifestyle, where you're kind of, inwardly open, closeted open with it in a certain circle, or open in a closeted circle with a certain element of it, almost in a bragging way, while you're actively denying rights to people, or participating in the denying rights of people in your same situation. That's always been the issue, right? And it seemed like for a lot of people that was an older Republican issue, right? That's something we've largely left behind. But I like worried about where to, like, the scrolling of it. Yeah, I'm not gonna, hold on, because I know I'm gonna scroll on something that's gonna be whatever. But his bringing that up in that interview, suddenly there's like this belief that because he, yeah, here, this is the, here you go. Here's finally a censored version of it, where he is humping the face of his cousin, who's also his, and either that or his assistant is filming it or something like that or whatever. So the general thought is that he outed the Republican coke orgy thing, and they've had this stuff all along, so they released it to get back at him. There's as much, and he's been calling this blackmail. There's as much, I would guess, reinforcement for the idea that he knew this stuff was going to come out and decided to, like, get out ahead of it in a way that, not knowing what the video was or knowing what it was or referencing it and going, they're going to mess with me. So if I just say that the people coming after me are, these kind of Republicans who are asking, that will preempt some of this stuff getting out, right? It will lessen the sting of it because I'll just write off what's coming out and I'll say these people are getting back at me for saying this. So that it's a syntax issue. Did he say what he said about the coke orgies because he knew this video was coming out to try and lessen it, or did this stuff come out because he mentioned those? I think it's reasonable to assume, considering it was so open and blatant with the whole coke orgy conversation on a podcast, that it might be the former rather than the latter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, because what's the syntax? It's wages of sin or death, I guess. Republicans using compromise, say it ain't so. Yeah, well, that's the issue, right? So, and again, there's how someone reacts to their own disability, especially if they were kind of a golden boy in that situation, has got to be an extraordinary act of compensating and dealing with grief and shame and anger. And I mean, there's got to be a myriad of things that happen when that occurs that you have to deal with emotionally. Because I arguably could write off almost every piece of his behavior as a reaction to his paralysis emotionally, considering his ego beforehand and all that. That he was this kind of person, it happened to this kind of person, and this is going to be their reaction unless you do something about it, right? Unless you make sure that you're getting psychological treatment to deal with it. Because that would be difficult for any human being. And then you stack that on top of the kind of ego that he allegedly had, his sexual behavior prior to this, the manhood and worthiness issues that he was already dealing with, and then lay that on top of this. Right. He was, Victoria, he was an asshole before. Right. That's exactly what I mean. Is that if you already have those character defects and then something like this happens to you, God knows what the expectations can be towards what your behavior will be in the world going forward, right? So, right. And this isn't going to go well. Yeah. This whole thing is ugly. So we shall see. Yeah, you absolutely can always overcome. Absolutely, no question. But it's going to take work. It's a difficult thing for anybody to have to deal with. And if you're already emotionally the kind of person who I'll give you an example. Imagine, if you would, whoops, oh, the wrong screen, sorry. Imagine, if you would, being this asshole. With the ego and daddy issues that you have, and then something like that happening. Right? I'm not wishing this on anyone, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, imagine having the character defects of this dude and then having to deal with something that even the most mature and evolved human beings have to work hard to deal with, right? Yeah, drugs. So speaking of which, everybody was talking about this video. Guys, this was Raw Story, I think, posted this one. Hold on, let me slide. I don't know why it needs to settle on this one, but. And by the way, if you'll recall, folks, no, none of the work has changed. This asshole has done nothing. There's that white folder. There's another piece of paper like stuffed above it, but on top of the green folder. Remember we used to, when he would do these videos at the office, and we would, in the side, we could always see, we sort of track the undone work that he does as the unfiled bullshit. He's got a workout, like a shaker bottle right here in the corner. That no doubt has some sort of nuclear pre-workout. But this is the video everybody's saying he's gacked up more than usual. So we'll take a look at this, and I'll try to, get through the show as best I can. I love you guys, and thank you guys for, pacing with me tonight. Here we go.
Well, guys, you saw the leak from the Supreme Court.
Who are you looking at?
Unprecedented thing. This kind of stuff doesn't happen. I don't know that I'm ever aware of a leak. This is not like Congress where everything leaks. And trust me, I've done enough testimony. Things are leaking during closed door hearings.
During your dad's depositions even. You know what? I have to believe there's an adult diaper on the market that has just better seals on it or something. Or perhaps, maybe rubber bands. I don't know.
The Supreme Court doesn't.
Look at this. And notes, like the script and the notes for this video are on two sides of the screen. Look at this.
Have leaks. So if there's not a thorough criminal investigation into who leaked privileged documents about a draft decision from the United States Supreme Court, where a small, tiny handful of people have access to it, then we live in a clown show state.
And by the way, I think this is the title of this. We live in one of the other, I think the graphic on it said we live in a clown show state. And so somehow the idea is that whoever leaked this, the leaking of it is again reflective of the America Biden created.
We live in a clown show state, folks. 4%.
And he reset it because that's going to be he wants to call it that. That's going to be a recurring theme.
Perspective. The FBI sent, I believe it was 15 people to investigate a garage pull. Remember that the NASCAR Bubba Wallace thing? And thought it was a noose. Well, it's a garage pull.
This is part of a Trump thing as well, is that the teams that investigate one type of crime, everybody should drop everything to go chase whatever bone they throw. And the Trump himself, his dad, allegedly, because I don't know that there's a lay claim in any of this, his father figure, whatever, would often make the case that, about New York, for example, there's all these murders happening. Why is Letitia James going after my taxes? All these people are busy. They should be solving crimes, as if we're going to bust murderers by accounting tricks, and that there aren't different divisions within each investigatory arm. This stacks with the same thing that they were saying in the congressional hearings where Matt Gaetz went after the guy from cyber because he have the Hunter Biden laptop, because that's a computer thing, right? They should chase whatever bone distraction that these guys are throwing. And that's an ongoing frustration. You'll hear this a lot. And the reason is because they want you to believe, A, that it's common sense. They should be solving the most important crime, as if there aren't different divisions. And the idea is that they can say that they're going after a less important thing, that they should just drop it because this is more crucial to your life, and that's common sense. That's a regular trick that Trump has used throughout the years, and it spawned this kind of general thought form amongst the MAGA world around January 6th that, you know, if they're going after the January 6th rioters, the people who are doing that have been taken off the Antifa BLM riot beat. Right? There's no there's a limited number of resources, and they're being stolen. We're stealing from the Peter theft case to put people on the Paul theft case.
Basically on every garage of every NASCAR track that anyone's ever bid at. Doesn't matter. 15 people. And if they...
Yeah, 15 people. They're like tens of thousands of FBI agents and investigators.
They don't send people to investigate this, then again,
they don't investigate this. The Chief Justice has called for an investigation. They have an internal investigation structure. They would pass it off to the DOJ.
We live in a clown show state.
Also, a clown show state. We're going to just say that again and again.
This is an unprecedented action, right?
No, because it says unprecedented on that Post-it note right there.
SCOTUS drafts are on a tight hold.
They're on a tight hold.
Held by a small number of people, and they
in that tight hold
should be easily identified. They don't leak, okay?
It says right here, they don't leak. I read it.
They already know probably who leaked it, and I imagine it's going to be a pissed off leftist.
You do?
Now, again, people will not be held accountable because...
Wouldn't the pissed off leftist have leaked it earlier, since it came out in February?
It's the left, and the media will run cover. But it's impossible to overstate how significant this leak is.
Sure it is. You're doing a good job.
It'd be like a general coordinating with communist China, giving...
Yes, it's exactly like that. It's like a general coordinating with communist China. Mm-hmm. That's that. I mean, it's just, as analogies go.
Chinese generals.
Wait a minute. Is he coordinating with a Chinese general? You lost me there. 1 second.
But it's impossible to overstate how significant this.
It's impossible to overstate how swollen your nasal passages are from cocaine use at this point.
Leak is. This would be like a general coordinating with communist China, giving Chinese generals, examples of what we'd be doing and what our response would be. Sort of like what they were talking about Millie did before. But that's where we're.
Is that what was happening?
We're getting, folks.
By the way, didn't your dad put Millie in office? Okay.
This may be the first time in history that a Supreme Court opinion has leaked. I'm not aware of another time, and I don't know that any of you...
Well, granted, I want to say, was there in the early 70s, there might have been one? Not a draft document, though, but...
You are either. It's almost like it's a political strategy.
Yes, almost as if, a right-winger thought if we leak this and get a jump on it, it will inflame the left. The left will start their process of trying to push back against this, and then that will drive our voters to the polls this fall because his dad has convinced a bunch of Republicans not to vote anymore.
To get the liberal base motivated.
Oh, it was leaked at the first time in 1973 at the start of Roe v. Wade. So it's almost like a history with Roe v. Wade. I see, Danielle.
When they know that they're losing everything because of the insanity that they're pushing. They're trying to get the pendulum to correct it back or try to motivate the radicals with some of that insanity.
All right. First of all, he's stacking his pejoratives together. But ultimately, it isn't motivating, quote, the radicals. This is motivating women across the board. This is something 69+% of the American people are against.
Everything because of the insanity that they're pushing. They're trying to get the pendulum to correct it back or try to motivate the radicals with some of that insanity.
Yeah, so apparently they have an insane pendulum that swings insanely, and they're trying to entice some of the insane people to go more insane, I guess.
I'm seeing now from my friend Benny Johnson, he spoke to his...
My friend Benny Johnson, who gave me these notes.
Supreme Court clerk who's horrified. And I quote, this leak has to come...
Little bunny, fuck you.
From a clerk or a justice themselves. It is intended to blow up the court. Criminal investigation needs to happen now. They seem to suggest that Sotomayor, the most radical of the leftists, probably did that, knowing, again, the media is going to jump at the Democrats.
Good Lord, man. This is a grown man.
It needs to happen now. They seem to suggest that Sotomayor, the most radical of the leftists, probably did that. No.
Well, then I would go after whoever suggested that they know until they know. I mean, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court, I would guess that anybody who clerks or works within the Supreme Court would be a little tighter-lipped around evidence or the presumption of innocence, for example, because of where they work.
Knowing, again, the media is going to jump at it. The Democrats are going to go insane. They're gathering in front of the Supreme Court as we speak.
As we speak.
They're talking about, claiming that it's a stolen, illegitimate Supreme Court. Yada. It's already starting, right? They're gathering.
It's already starting in my head because I know this argument. It's true.
In Supreme Court, that's illegitimate. Yada yada yada.
Yada yada yada.
I'm sure pretty soon we'll be hearing chants of insurrections because that's what they do.
Chants of insurrections because that's what they do. Fuck me.
That's what you do.
Okay, that's what I do. That's what I do. That's what they do. Run that by me again. Did you guys get any of this?
In court as we speak.
As we speak.
They're talking about, claiming that it's a stolen, illegitimate Supreme Court. Yada. It's already starting, right? They're gathering in Supreme Court. That's illegitimate. Yada yada yada. I'm sure pretty soon we'll be hearing chants of insurrections because that's what they do. That's what you do.
That's what everybody does. That's what's done. It's just what is. What?
So watch what happens.
So watch what happens. We can't let it happen. Guys, watch what happens. We can't let this happen.
It's clearly designed to intimidate justices, to obstruct a future SCOTUS proceeding. It's designed to intimidate.
How would it obstruct the future proceeding?
Their families. It's designed with a purpose. Okay?
Huh?
To intimidate justices, to obstruct a future SCOTUS proceeding. It's designed to intimidate their families.
Why would it intimidate their families?
It's designed with a purpose, okay?
Are we talking about the draft document or the leaking of it or the publication of it or your response to it?
That's an insurrection, folks. We've been hearing about...
What? Wait a minute. So the leaking of the draft document, the ability for the American people to see this draft document crafted by a right-wing court that has been intentionally stacked that way over the years through manipulation of the process, allowing people to read the draft version of of the majority opinion before they announce it is an insurrection now.
Because that's what they do.
Because that's what they do, and that's what you do. That's what you do.
That's what you do.
That's what you do, and that's what they do. This is an insurrection.
So watch what happens. It's clearly designed to intimidate justices, to obstruct a future SCOTUS proceeding. It's designed to intimidate their families. It's designed with a purpose, okay? That's an insurrection, folks. We've been hearing about all the other clown shows that have been investigated.
Yeah, but this is a whole new clown show. We live in a clown country of clown shows. And
again, whether it's Russia hoax 4 years, if this isn't investigated, we live in a clown show.
But do we live in a clown show?
We live in a banana republic.
And it's a banana clown. It's clowns and bananas. It's banana. All right.
We have to look into it right now.
All right. Well, get at it. I'm sure are there any of these documents here that can help in the investigation? They've been sitting there idle for years. Nothing. Perhaps you can talk to the weird mini statue of your dad, I guess, peeing in a dumpster, whatever that is, or in a trash can in the corner. That's it. That's the whole. Okay. That wasn't even the only one he did that day. That was in response to, because he's wearing the same shirt, it would seem. This one, interestingly enough, did way more business than this one did. This one got 29,000 views. This one, amazing Trump fan surprised me and my father today in New York City. You got to see this. So they had all these people share this. This is his.
Hold on. My father's office.
My father's office.
Just left my father's office.
I haven't done a two to blow yet. I still got, kind of an adult toad in my upper nasal cavity.
You won't believe this. It's pretty amazing. I was with him when all of this happened. Check it out. I heard some noise out the window, and I looked, and I saw something pretty incredible. I think the wind just took it now, but there's a entire group of guys holding a Trump flag in the middle of Fifth Avenue.
Hold on, he puts a picture on screen.
Incredible. I think the wind just took it now, but there's a...
The wind just took it now.
Entire...
Trump 2024, Save America. It's incredible. I mean, and they were willing to stop traffic. Well, traffic was already stopped. And
group of guys holding a Trump flag in the middle of Fifth Avenue.
We totally did not pay for that.
It seems like they've shut down the block, at least temporarily.
Yeah, it was your own little freedom convoy.
They may be getting disbanded right now, but...
yeah, they're getting disbanded by the wind.
They have an awesome Trump flag that was up there. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're folding it up right now, so maybe...
Yeah, it was great while it lasted, though. End of an era.
They did what they needed to do.
Yeah, they're rolling it up, and then they're going to fold it in the corners, and then they're going to salute it.
But you can see them sort of folding the flag in the background. Check out the picture. There's the picture of everything that was going on. There's the picture of...
everything that was going on? That's what was going on.
It, fully unfurled. That was a few minutes ago. I was...
Wow.
In the midst of something, so I didn't have...
Yeah, I had a little appointment.
Too much time to do a video about it when it was all out. But I wanted to thank you guys for the incredible support.
Yeah, nice timing, guys.
Thank you, New Yorkers, for being out there. We know there are some rational people left that haven't lost their minds, even in New York City. I know that's hard to believe for a lot of people. And so wanted to let you know that we truly appreciate it, that we thank you for that.
I feel touched. I mean, I like everybody, whatever you do, don't take a knee right now.
Support. I know I pointed it out to my father. He was on
in a city of 7 million people, 35 people from spread out, I guess, from Sturgis drove all the way in.
Phone call, and he walked over to check.
Oh, a picture of him looking. Look, Pop. Stare out the window. They've got your flag, Pop. Look at them. You've got supporters. See the rest of the city? They fucking hate you. But those 32 people, look, Pop.
Check it out. And so he's aware of what you guys are doing.
He doesn't know where he is, but he knows you love him, and that's the important part. I showed him your card.
We appreciate it.
And in between pudding cups.
It seems like a nice, peaceful protest.
Yeah, okay, that's the peaceful protest, like stuff left over from last year's rallies.
Just the way we want it, and
yeah, just the way we want it. Quick, fold it up, get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? Like, we like our in the Trump family, we like our protests like we like our sex. Short, kind of a letdown. By the time you look, it's over, and it gnarls traffic. That's
it's sort of awesome. So thank you.
Sort of awesome. I'm glad. I'm sure they're glad to hear that.
You guys for doing that. Here's some of the pictures. I'll probably try to splice them into the video if I can. Otherwise, here you go. Here's the full deal, as well as my father looking out his office window and recognizing.
Great. Yeah, get on with it.
What you guys are doing.
Cool. A whole minute of it.
It's pretty awesome. So
it's awesome. Let's see it.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome to go. All right.
Keep at it.
Keep at what? Keep at what? Are you just talking to the 32? He's just talking to the 32.
Stay in the game. I know we will.
Stay in the game.
And look forward to seeing you soon. Be good.
Oh, okay, so this is their own footage of it?
We love Trump! 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 We love Trump!
I don't know why he didn't go down there and hug all these people personally. They seem lovely. They don't seem unhinged at all. She's wearing a Trump 2020 shirt.
We love Trump! We love Trump!
I'm fairly certain one of those was "We nub Trump," but we'll figure it.
We love Trump! We love Trump!
Gays for Trump. This dude's making calls like, these assholes are in front of my shop. He can see us. He's looking down from the great obelisk in the sky. You know, I feel like one of those gorilla people in the beginning of 2001: A Space Odyssey, you know, where they started beating each other with bones and then masturbating. Or was that History of the World? Imagine a city with 7 million people in it, and the vast majority of the people from the city showed up to... Oh. Like people trying to walk, just New Yorkers trying to go where they're going.
Necessarily this kind of thing?
What does the banner say? Oh, you didn't bother to buy the one that's printed correctly on both sides? Okay. And that's it, apparently. Okay. This is the worst CAPTCHA I've ever seen. Pick which one's a sunrise. I don't know. What is it? All right. So, hold on. I'm going to, by the way, let's see, it is 4:41. I'm going to do, I have so many videos. I think I can manage one more depending on the content, and then I'm going to bail out a little early tonight just because you guys understand. And oh God. And this one I think is kind of appropriate considering the last couple of days. For those of you that don't know, when the SCOTUS draft decision came down, I, in keeping with my political thought for years and years and years, called out those people who were like, in 2016, like, does it matter if you vote? Hillary's a bad person, and therefore, is Trump really all that bad? And, does voting ever really change anything? That whole bullshit, which of course it absolutely does. And you guys know here that even if you totally disagree with me, politically, whichever direction you think you are, left or right, vote every fucking time. Put your skin in the game, act like it matters, because it does. And anytime you think before you was a choice between the lesser of two evils, choose less evil. It's not that complicated. Make adult decisions like you want the fucking country to be here, or all the protections you take for granted to be here for the rest of your life, right? And if you don't care about yours, then understand that other people have children, other people have elders that they're concerned about. And if the Republicans are able to take over and sunset, Social Security as part of their overall plan, which they released as part of the plan, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the VA, they want to sunset them every 5 years. And all somebody has to do is filibuster the return of any of these bills, and they're done for. You vote every time, and you vote realistically. Vote in the primary all you want. Fight for everything you can get. But when it comes down to your choices where you have two possible winners for real, vote for one of them and that has a shot that best reflects your values. Now, there's every reason to believe that there are folks that consider themselves the progressive crowd, that consider them, their brand is supposedly to the left, and yet their behavior and attitudes towards their fellow human beings are very authoritarian, right-wing in how they believe things should be carried out. So I called out TYT specifically and I would group them in with Susan Sarandon and the like, for talking people out of voting for Hillary in 2016 and giving Donald Trump an electoral college win when Hillary had won by 3 million votes, but in 3 different states, 75,000 voters made the difference in her voting. And that was absolutely within the people who either voted for Trump as a protest because Hillary stole the primary from Bernie and all that shit, or just didn't vote at all, or, across the board, or left president blank, right? And allowed this to go through. Yay, 1,000 subs on Twitch. We're always bumping that up. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm not doing much in the way of promo today. I apologize, guys. Today's show is a little bit muted, so you'll have to, bear with me. In the process, though, I have said this all along. Like, I don't give any quarter to assholes who tell people not to vote or that their vote doesn't matter, or that, that it's more, when the Republicans, attack rhinos, there's a reason why we eat popcorn on the show, because we know it's going to diminish their vote. We know it's going to destroy their agenda, whether or not, they have an alternative or not. When it's on our side, if you actually, thank you, Just Another Human, appreciate that. When it's on our side, you have people pretending to care about the issues that they allegedly care about, and then telling people that, their vote, if you vote, it's just something the establishment's going to squander, blah, blah, blah. And then, in the case of Cenk, starting just as Democrats, and then getting kicked out of his own organization, however the fuck that happens. And anyways, I called them both out. I called, Cenk and Anna and TYT out because in 2016, they muted the vote and it had an absolute effect. And my caveat going forward is don't listen to them. If they tell you, they can tell you all the fall in love stuff they want. Anybody can talk about the politics that they believe in. I'm for it. But if they tell you that never mind, voting in the fall, or they wait till the last minute in the case of Hillary and go, yeah, you should vote for her. She's better than Trump. And yet in the beginning, the whole year leading up to it, she's a warmongering neocon, blah, blah, blah. You can't about face people like that. It doesn't work. No, 420 God. No, by no means. This is an interesting stacked video that showed up today, considering that, Anna in the last 24 hours has called me a bitch, a washed up comedian, an idiot, something else. And then Cenk called me the dumbest man on the internet, which I think is fabulous. I have to say, if I needed more promo from that crowd, I couldn't possibly get it. Yeah, they're the ones calling Democrats dumb, feckless losers. Meanwhile, Nina Turner lost. She lost for the very reason everybody expected her to lose, because the district that she was running in is not a far left district, and that doesn't appeal to it. As a matter of fact, Nina Turner's ads in the Cleveland area, I have relatives there. So the first time she ran against Shontel Brown, she lost in the primary, and then Shontel Brown actually won the seat. In this particular situation, it is completely reasonable that somebody like Shontel Brown could win the area, but it is not reasonable to assume that somebody that would consider themselves like Sanders left would win in that district. It's not an automatic thing. I don't know why it was expected. There might be some tacit soft pedal racism that, like, well, there's a lot of black people in the district. Maybe they won't notice. Maybe they don't know the difference between Nina Turner and Shontel Brown, and the people backing it going, they should just vote for whoever and we'll just promote, and they'll go with name recognition or something. But ultimately, the ads that Nina Turner ran in the area looked like ads for a morning show. They were very moderate in a lot of ways. She was not running as a far left, activist congressperson, because you can't to win that seat. So the argument is, if that was her ad campaign and she moderated to do that, then her appearances on TYT didn't help. Right. If anything ate into her credibility with those voters, it was that crisscross. So they were, at the one hand, she's running kind of a centrist ad campaign and then showing up all the time. There. TYT sound a little threatened by me. They do. I mean, I guess they must. I don't know why. They've got, their biggest problem is this. This is the Jimmy Dore. This is a bond might be starting to form between Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian again.
Or read for people with reading difficulties.
The irony of that is hilarious considering the ad. Okay.
For some people, reading can be a challenge. With Orcam Read, just point.
By the way, this ad runs in front of Bongholios as well.
For school.
It won't let me skip. Sorry. I'm not running an ad for a thing to do. Read a book on your own.
Read a magazine.
Peel and finally
read anything you want. Orcam Read makes reading simple.
Shouldn't read be in air quotes?
Orcam.com.
I think so. All right, here we go.
So I don't know if you remember the demise of the Young Turks. They used to have 5 million subscribers.
By the way, there's no Trident in any of this because they had 5 million subscribers. He took one with him. One of the reasons why they lost those folks is exactly the about face on Hillary Clinton that they did. It wasn't so much that they were trying to talk people into voting for Hillary because she was obviously the right choice against Trump. If you have any fucking brains at all, it was that they spent the entire year with the help of this asshole talking about her as a monster, like a, bordering on Clinton body count shit. And then at the last minute, they're like, but, I mean, you should probably vote for her. Like, nobody buys that shit. Thank you, Eric. Oh, my God. Thank you for the super chat. That's very sweet.
I worked there for 10 years, and they were on the cutting edge for a little while.
When you were there, I guess?
Of independent news for a little while. And then it all went to shit when they had to, when the rubber met the road, which was forced to vote. So they've been saying we need to get politicians and progressives in government.
Oh, this is the idea that they were going to, like on the infrastructure bill or whatever, they were just, what they want is everything to die on the floor because they called it. And what they realize is that, when they put people in office, they think they put them in office like AOC or the like, that they don't just follow orders and kill bills on according to the directives of Jimmy Dore and TYT. By the way, and he's been attacking the squad for the failure of this as well. What these folks realize is when you get in there and you look at the actual numbers and you look at the actual impact of legislation, the attitude that if we can't have everything, we don't want anything is moronic and infantile and in its own way violent.
And that they would do ba-ba. So then
that they would do ba-ba.
We did that, forced to vote. Anna Kasparian, this was the end of TYT. They went against their own audience. 90% of their...
I feel like I should eat popcorn during this part.
Their own paying members were for forced to vote. They were against it because I was doing it.
It was just a grudge. They were willing to sacrifice 90% of their folks, not because they may have recognized at the time that it was a fucked strategy and stupid, but it was just because... It's because Jimmy exists. You know what I mean? They wake up in a hot sweat going, Jimmy's walking off. He walked off with a fifth of our audience.
Right.
Right.
And they were protecting AOC and the squad. They were protecting politicians instead of supporting the activists, right?
Right. The ones that don't actually have any power and will ultimately get primary wins that don't go anywhere through 85% of the fucking country and therefore get no wins on the board, move nothing forward, and show everybody, basically disincentivise people from voting for that very reason.
So they did the opposite of what they were supposed to. And if you look at their video views and subscriptions, it went straight down after forced to vote. So they crossed their own people. They crossed me too, but they crossed the activist base, and so they've been done ever since. No one watches their show anymore, and they're scrambling. Right?
Is that why they're attacking me? I'll take your word for it. What are you looking at?
And
What?
So what she said.
Go ahead.
So let me read it.
Yeah, no. Kurt, you don't get to come on. You have to hide behind the graphic because that's where Jimmy puts you. And never mind the fact that it's cockeyed, like it's cattywampus, as my mother would say. Can't work on this stuff. $1 million show. Can't. No.
Let me read it.
Yeah,
it says it's one thing to debate the strategies lawmakers like AOC should take. My issue with Dorr is that I don't believe he says anything in good faith. It's incredible to witness his rage-filled demands of some lawmakers while he refused to hold Tulsi accountable for a damn thing.
Okay, I don't understand why. What did Tulsi promise to force the vote?
No, Tulsi was not in Congress for this, so that's
what would
weird.
you hold her accountable for?
But she's not in Congress. I don't know what she means, but anyway, that was the end of the Young Turks when they did that.
Well, I'm glad they ended before they attacked me in concert yesterday. I feel so much. I guess all the people from their channel who jumped in and started defending them in the Twitter feed, those people don't exist anymore. Or maybe it's just bots. It's bots,
right? And
bots.
There she is saying that it's incredible to witness my rage-filled demands on some lawmakers. Why do I bring this up, ladies and gentlemen? Because there's a fun piece of video. So let's watch this. This is fun.
We don't even have paid family leave.
So she's upset about this abortion memo that leaked from the Supreme Court saying that the abortion rights might be taken away.
Yeah, it's a memo that says they might. I mean, this is the kind of astute quality programming you expect from Jimmy Dore. It's a memo. The memo.
We don't even have affordable childcare in this free
Why does Cenk look like he's being lectured? Why isn't she on camera?
country.
They'll cut to her.
Okay, and the people who fight against those kinds of laws are Republicans.
And yet,
what do you want them to do with their kids when they have to go to work? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? I want them to answer that freaking question. Answer the question.
Also, I don't know why he's laughing at her upset about this particular issue. I mean, because again, look at his face and look at her reaction. Because what her argument is in this case, and I'm with her on this. Republicans vote constantly against Head Start, against school lunches, against pre and postnatal care for impoverished women, for example. They certainly are shit in setting up, like shoring up public schools, for example. There's absolutely no preschool childcare for a lot of folks who are, working families and the like. And that's stuff that you want moved forward all the time. And there's one thing to say that some Democrats, in like states like West Virginia might not, you might feel like, even though they are voting for this stuff when it comes up, you might feel that they don't take it as seriously as they should. But the active pushback against it is from Republicans who are allegedly pro-life and want this, created this SCOTUS and want to eliminate this right for women, right? And so she is reacting, and I can't believe a day after she's saying this that I'm coming to Anna's defense in this, like a lot of women are reacting, rightly so, to the feeling that their rights are being debated by dudes who not only don't have skin in the game in that regard, but also want to actively deny support for this. So this seems to be where the anger is coming from so far. This might turn. I didn't even watch the clip that he's playing, but his laughter about her is very akin to the kind of thing you would see on a right-wing own the libs kind of a channel that watch Anna freak out as a dude reacting to how a woman is reacting to. I mean, even Cenk is not reacting at the same level she is because she's a woman. And again, as much as I disagree with them tactically, and I don't find them to be good people a good portion of the time, I wish no one ill on a regular basis. And I certainly can recognize like a genuine reaction from someone, in this regard. Stop mansplaining. I'm not mansplaining. I'm mansplaining. I would technically be mansplaining Jimmy.
Question. Journalists, ask them the question. Ask them. Ask them.
Isn't it amazing?
Ask Ask them the goddamn question. God.
Isn't it amazing that not one Democrat?
And again, like, then it goes to not one Democrat. This is where they go. This is like a minute and a half long clip. They're talking about and to Republicans, people who have stymied this all along the way. Like, and remember, had these assholes not basically brainwashed their entire viewership, along with Jimmy Dore, that Hillary Clinton was evil for the years running up to 2016, to the point where she to where she ran, that they genuinely had an impact on muting the liberals and progressives that would have voted for her, especially in these particular swing states that were the difference in these areas. Had they not done that, none of these judges that are actually doing this thing, that are eliminating women's rights, would be on the bench right now. None of them.
Has shown 1% of the passion that Anna has today.
They don't care.
They
They're
don't
fine.
care.
They're
They don't
fine.
care.
They're all so old, they don't even have to worry about it affecting them. And if they're young enough where it would affect them, they'll get their abortion.
They're gonna fly to
They're
Paris.
trading individual stocks, enriching themselves. They're good. They're good. They don't care about you.
This is a great midterm message, kids. I'm sure the three of these folks are totally committed to shoring up women's rights coming into the fall. This is an election year. This is a midterm election year. And all three of these assholes cannot help but dovetail their entire argument towards this is somehow Democrats' fault because we have 48 elected Democrats and have to caucus with 2 independents, King and Sanders, to get a tacit majority with Kamala Harris's vote in the Senate. And we have a hair's breadth in the House, enough where the Republicans can argue, you guys don't have a mandate. You don't, anything you're trying to push, the American people aren't for it. Even when 69% of the American public want women's rights, want Roe v. Wade codified, right? But we have a difference of less than 100 in the House. It looks like this fall, and the Senate's, a toss up, right? And so where would the attack point be? The attack point would be we need 60 senators, and we need a runaway majority in the House so that we don't have to, so that they sort of fear the electorate and they're aware. But this back and forth, this is basically just like all this is about is cutting the hamstrings of Democrats.
But I'm going to tell you to vote for them every election. And anybody who says anything else, I'm going to say they're an alt-right winger and they're grifters. You better vote Democrat for these people who, I'm telling you right now at the top of my lungs, don't care about you and our.
Well, again, what he's pointing out right now is this ongoing storyline. This is how TYT operates. They bash Democrats nonstop as feckless losers, who really don't care about any of this stuff, and then try to get you to vote 6 weeks before the fucking thing happens. It's the hypocrisy of it that doesn't convince anybody. And it's one of the reasons why they've lost audience over time, is because they want to have their cake and smear it on your face too. Jimmy, on the other hand, doesn't actually want them elected. Like, he is alt-right at this point. That's what, you can tell by how he laughs at her upset about this particular issue. They are absolutely hypocritical as a show. In the same way that Jimmy is hypocritical in the way that he pretends to give a shit about things like Medicare for all, when in reality he would sacrifice millions of American lives just for the fight of it, so they can say, we went down swinging and we tried. And better to look like you tried and fail than let something like the ACA pass that will actually help people, right? Because that'll be enough, and then it won't move forward. Instead of incremental positive change where you get a win on the board and you move forward, and you get a win on the board and you move forward. That's not a sales strategy. You can't make clickbait thumbnails off of that attitude.
Are horrible people. Hang on.
Make sure you understand that and you feel it in your bones. They don't care about you at all.
See what I mean? And then, like I said, this is the Hillary Clinton situation all over again. Democrats in Congress do not care about you at all. They don't care about you. They feel it in your bones, she says. And yet, 3 weeks before the election, when it looks like a bunch of right-wing, Madison Cawthorn and MTG types are going to take over a massive, do a massive wave through the House and control the legislative agenda and perhaps voting rights for, 82% of the fucking country, they'll go, oh, please get back, get out and vote. And then half-heartedly, by the way. And then after the election, they'll go, well, they should have done our message and they would have won. Like, your message was they're evil. And him laughing at this is because he doesn't actually give a fuck about women's rights and the like. Otherwise, he would have fought to, against Trump getting in office. He's in the Susan Sarandon camp that the whole thing needs to collapse.
So, apparently, I was right. Apparently, Jimmy Dore was right again. And it bothered.
Or all three of you are the same kind of asshole.
Bothers them so much, they lose their... This is how it comes out. It comes out like that.
And by the way, I don't know why he's... hold on. Let me show you something real quick if I can. It'll have to be in here. Hold on. This might take me a second. Let's see. Here you go. Here you go. This is just a taste of the stuff. King Cuck Bernie. Bernie Shields for Biden. Complete surrender. 7 months ago, Trump shows Bernie how to win a president. Trump shows Bernie how to win a presidential election. Bernie asked about Biden's dementia at town hall, and then he's like, "This is 2 years ago. This is when Bernie at DNC now the most heartbreaking video." This is where he does jokes about Bernie Sanders has had it with Jimmy Dore. Bernie has become a cartoon of a leader.
Remember this? I was at the Democratic National Convention. It was held in Philadelphia this year, inside the Wells Fargo. It was Bernie Sanders said you got to have it. Do you think there would have been
a white vote? That doesn't mean.
And why did they do that? To make sure we get a conservative nominee, not a liberal, not a progressive. They wanted to make sure they win, so they go to the right. That's why they front load it with southern states. That's why they did that, so they could get this, so they could get someone to the over progressive.
He'll never get past the censors.
Okay, so this is this is just heartbreaking, right? It even says Bernie at the DNC, the most heartbreaking video of 2016. Meanwhile, the rest of the time,
propaganda and media.
Hold on.
Even waiting till after they get elected. They're now just saying these things aren't doable. Big things aren't possible. What do we want? Incrementalism. When do we want it? In due time.
That's the running joke, by the way. By the way, rescue package, the infrastructure bill, we're out of Afghanistan. The biggest move towards green and renewable tech in our nation's history, all in the first year.
Pushing Biden left. Laugh my ass off. Rather than insisting on Medicare for all, Sanders trademark. There it is. Laugh my ass off. Pushing Biden left. Bernie's a cuck to the establishment, and he's turned his back on his progressive movement. He fucking has abandoned his progressive movement completely. You know where they were? They were out in the streets marching for Medicare for all. Where was Bernie? Bernie was out there sucking something off of Joe Biden.
There you go. So apparently, Anna's overreacting to like the political circumstance we're in because of this leaked Roe v. Wade, something that was, standing law forever that protect a woman's right to choose, medical privacy, and all these kind of things. Like, she's reacting to this stuff. And again, I disagree with her tactically, but I understand emotionally why her reaction might be that way. Certainly more than it seems Jimmy does. But what's funny to him is her sort of, vile reaction to that. Meanwhile,
that's what Bernie was doing, kissing his ass, lying to us, gaslighting, and screwing the progressive movement. That's what fucking Bernie Sanders doing today.
Yeah, there you go. So with friends like these, right? So if you believe in Bernie and you're for Bernie and you like Bernie, understand that the company he kept ate him alive after the fact. This is one of the reasons why 30% ceiling.
Because they protected those same politicians. They've been protecting the Democratic Party. They've been
No, they haven't.
telling you not to vote third party or not even to try to organize one. They've been shaming anybody. And so now there they are screaming. That sounds like a rage-filled rant, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, she's screaming. He's sitting there like, "Yes, dear."
Yeah.
It was like, can we just take a break to loosen Anna's bun a little bit? I think her bun's twisted.
Yeah, I know. When women overreact, you know what I mean? Like chicks, am I right, guys? Holy shit. Like, what? I mean, arguably, argue on her merits, if you want. But the idea that, she's a chick and her hair's pulled back too tight. That's what it is.
It's too tight. Just give it a little bit of a...
I think the bun might be too tight.
A little lefty-loosey on the bun.
And by the way, this is Jimmy, because it's the Jimmy Dore show. All of Kurt's jokes are Jimmy's jokes. He just takes them. And that's, I guess, I don't know if is Kurt a paid writer on the show? Or does he just get a spot to sell his own shit? And what he has to sacrifice is, enough lame jokes to earn his spot on there to try and catch some audience.
Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Do you want to see that again? Because I do.
We don't even have paid family leave. We don't even have affordable childcare in this freaking country. Okay, and the people who fight against those kinds of laws are Republicans.
And yet,
What do you want them to do with their kids when they have to go to work? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? I want them to answer that freaking question.
Again, I don't quite understand why Jimmy thinks this is a dunk on Anna for caring about this particular issue, other than the fact that he thinks that somehow Democrats were supposed to deliver this during Trump, or that their Democrats that they put in are supposed to have some sort of magic overriding power with the narrow majority that we have right now. And that right now we don't even have a majority in the Senate, and that we can only break, the filibuster exists. We can only use reconciliation on budgetary issues, federal budgetary issues.
Answer the question. Journalists, ask them the question. Ask them. Ask them.
isn't it amazing?
Ask them. The goddamn question. God.
Isn't it
Can
amazing?
you pause it really quick? I think it's funny when she says journalists ask the question.
Ask the question.
As if she's not a journalist.
She isn't a journalist. Neither are you. None of you are journalists. None of you are in DC. None of you are interviewing these people directly. I don't know if the AOCs of the world, if they come on the Young Turks anymore, which I doubt they do, would be asked those questions. And I presume, I mean, doesn't she? Well, I think Anna teaches a journalism course. That doesn't mean she is one.
I know.
Just being honest.
It's like she's admitting.
Right. Why don't you ask the Democrats why they won't codify abortion rights into law, which has been sitting in a Senate committee with 48 senators that are co-sponsoring it? They could codify.
No, they couldn't, because if they did it by breaking the filibuster would therefore be broken. If they lost this fall, women's rights would go back the other direction. And then instead of having a law that you could count on, you'd have this back and forth where people, the right wing and the left wing would turn this into a tennis match.
abortion rights into law right now. They won't do it. You're Democrats that you tell everybody to vote for. But so she's finally upset at the Democrats. She's finally upset at them.
It paid off holding Tulsi to account and not the Democrats.
Yeah, too bad
She
Tulsi
made the right bet.
Yeesh.
Yeah, too bad Tulsi's not still in Congress, so you could yell at and pretend that she was the one doing this.
Was it hold her account for like Russia or something?
I don't know what hold her account. I don't know hold her account for what. I have no idea what they want to hold her.
Again, that was an old tweet or something he referenced about AOC. But I guess the attack towards the squad is supposedly coming. Jimmy's turned on the squad a long time ago.
Account for.
I wonder if she went to Madeleine Albright's funeral.
Anna went to Madeleine Albright's funeral. I bet she did. It was an honor to meet her. So there you go. Let's watch a little more.
One Democrat has shown 1% of the passion that Anna has today.
They don't care.
That's fair.
They don't care.
They're all so old, they don't have to worry about it affecting them. And if they're young enough where it would affect them, they'll get their abortion.
They're going to fly to
They're
Paris.
trading individual stocks, enriching themselves. They're good. They're good. They don't care about you. Make sure you understand that and you feel it in your bones. They don't care about you.
Yes, this is one of the best get out the vote campaigns I've ever seen on the left.
At all.
I did
At all. Feel it in your bones. Like both of these they're in alignment right now. That's the irony of this part. He's mocking her, but now they're on the same page.
understand that.
So why don't they just do a video saying, yeah, okay, Jimmy Dore was right about everything. Remember this? Remember they were like, you got to be nice to them. They were like, you got to be nicer to them. You can't be like Jimmy Dore and mean to the politicians. Remember that?
I bet. Part of Chank's face was him remembering that.
Yeah.
Part of that face. He's like, "Oh, this is gonna get played on Jimmy Dore's show." I mean, that's part of it.
Why?
There's an end to it, I think.
All of that fundraising, all of that canvassing, all of that hard work on the ground, they can't even.
She didn't do any of that, by the way. She didn't do any canvassing.
Neither did he.
She didn't do any hard work on the
Neither did Jimmy.
ground. Anna doesn't do any hard work ever anywhere.
Other than listing.
Other than listing.
Again, what the fuck is he talking about? Nobody there does either. You think Kurt Metzger's knocking on doors?
Yeah. And she won't cover stories that are outside her front door. She won't cover a story. She
won't even look at the tapes of the story she covers.
She won't even do that. All right, there we go.
Get a voting rights bill passed. They're losers.
Trisha Briggs writes in, thank you, Anna, for communicating this momentous injustice and the rage we're all feeling today.
Vote blue. You got it, but he's going to tell you to vote for those same people.
Well, and this is what I was making the case about when it came to the 2016 vote. And he participated in exactly the same thing. This is it. You cannot make this case that, they're making that, feckless losers, actual neocons, trading stocks, blah, 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 and then expect within 6 weeks of the election for you to put out a message like, I think you should vote for them anyways because the alternative is horrifying. And then expect people to do it. It's all, both of these organizations are, they're tentacles from the same octopus. And effectively, it's just diminish the vote. Stop Democrats from voting. Stop liberals from voting. Stop young progressives from voting, in 2 rounds. Because usually by the time young voters come around to waking up to, you don't go to the gym just once and you're fit. You don't eat just once and you're done eating. You don't shit once and you're done and everything's a clean drop. Once you outgrow that idea as a young person, you're no longer the youth vote. And then it takes different motivations to get you to vote and recognitions of, tactics mean more to you, than they do when you're, a 19-year-old, or you're in college. And this is the primary audience of the Young Turks and Jimmy Dore. Is this kind of like neo-Ayn Randian, semi-left-wing nihilist crowd that the whole system's fucked. It's an anarchy appeal. It just It depends on if you like, your anarchy to look like it's done in a garage, or you like your anarchy, to be corporate anarchy. Like you bought your anarchy shirt at the Hot Topic. So you love the big A spray painted, but you don't want the smell of spray paint, right?
Please tell me who to vote for.
100. I'll bet you $1 million. Well, I don't even have to bet you. They're doing it currently. So here's another. She goes, Dems will means test the F out of you. Coward to Republicans, make all sorts of promises they never intend to keep, and then blame TYT when they lose. They lose because they're losers.
I wonder if she's... I want to say that was in reference to her response to me. That might have been in one of the tack-ons, because it's the same language. There's nothing original about what she's writing there. But again, Nina Turner lost. Shontel Brown won. She's the incumbent. She's actually in office. Biden won. What do you mean they lose because they're losers? The argument, I guess, would be that the hyper-progressives that they're pushing, the hyper-partisan progressives, unless they are in the blue equivalent of a Marjorie Taylor Greene district, have no shot. And when they run them, they do well because primary voters will show up, but then they collapse in the general, and that's what she's talking about. Because you can't run fringe as in the general and expect it to go anywhere. That's just life. That's not because the system's set up against you. That's because that's how reality is. There might be 20 routes across town, and your phone might say, this is the quickest route, but full well, having driven it, like the first time you've never driven it, you're like, all right, I'll try that. And then you're fucking 20 turns, and it includes 3 U-turns in an area where there's construction here, but your phone doesn't know this. After you've done it a while and you're like, nah, fucking, my phone says that every time. If I just go straight here and make one right, I can come back around, and it looks like I'm going further, but I actually get there quicker. That's maturity, right? That's the the establishment road. It seems to work a lot better in those regards, and that's what they're up against every single time. Sorry.
Did they call her? Who blamed TYT when the Democrats lost?
Nobody blamed.
They said vote Democrat, right?
Yeah, they're telling everyone to vote Democrat.
No, they're not. The point is that they do this shit, exactly what you're talking about. They scream like this right up until 3 weeks before the election, and it's disingenuous bullshit, kind of like your support for Bernie Sanders.
Which is why all the Democrats go on their show, which is why they get access to Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner and AOC. They sell a T-shirt with AOC's face on it.
Right, but I wouldn't call that establishment Democrats at all. Bernie's not even a Democrat. He's an independent. That's the point. They're pushing a particular fringe wing of Democratic politics, which is fine. They can do that. But the problem is that they chew the center out while they're trying. It's like you cut down you poison the trunk of the tree while trying to hang ornaments on it at the same time.
Yeah, it's good she got this outburst out of her system before they have to, go back to being tools.
Being tools of the Democratic Party, because that's...
See, the opposite is true. The thing is, it's the tacit fakery that leads up to the closeness of the election that's never convincing to anyone because they've spent the entire time telling everybody they're evil.
Okay. That was fun. That was fun. I kind of want to play it again. But
I kind of do, too. Is
that
I'll
play
weird?
It one more time. I'll play it.
Yeah, it is weird.
One more time. Here we go.
Again, I don't know. All right, I'm skipping this part because we've seen it already. But I don't know why her yelling about... I get they're losers and blaming Democrats, why he thinks that's Schadenfreude. I get that to some degree. But her anger about the issue itself is I guess reasonable and legit. And then he just finds one tweet from December of 2020
that they just don't want to.
Yeah.
The yelling.
Yeah. Well, here she said it's incredible to witness rage-filled demands. His rage-filled demands.
And don't pretend he doesn't have those. That's a big portion of his show is screaming at them to, they need to force the vote. That's what they're talking about. She's specifically talking about force the vote, which was a mess. It was a waste of time. And it diminished support for Build Back Better, the complete package over the process, because it looked like the activists were pinning it will collapse infrastructure if you don't. This was the argument. That's what the force to vote was. Is it make them vote for Medicare for all or make them vote for Build Back Better? If you don't, then they're not going to get this. And Pelosi played ball with them for a while. But what it ended up looking like was that only activists were interested in the rest of Build Back Better, which is not the case. But that created the stench politically that Republicans were able to act on, saying, even normal Americans don't want this stuff. The AOCs, the squad, Bernie Sanders, they want Build Back Better, the outside stuff. They're trying to, they're pulling Biden strings. We watched all that shit happen.
I guess I was just ahead of the curve as usual. And now the Young Turks, after all their audiences.
What curve is that? Because for the record, my choices won and continue to.
Left them is now admitting that the
for both of these assholes,
Democratic Party doesn't care about you.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. And this like low rent stochastic terrorism towards Democrats because they don't, again. If we don't get anything, if we don't get everything, nobody gets anything is the rallying cry of both Jimmy Dore and TYT ultimately.
And are losers and aren't going to do anything to fight for you. They're finally admitting it. Isn't that nice? I
like how it went from we to they so quickly.
Yeah. Yes.
They oh, you're not. Did you not get that money? That check didn't come from okay.
So
also, I don't know what money he's referring to. And Kurt, for the record, is, like people tacitly call Jimmy alt-right. Kurt is. Like he was just on, I think, the Sitch and Adam show. And he, left to his own devices, sounds like, like a low-end Ben Shapiro.
There you go.
Ideologically.
Thank you. Again, it's another treat. Watching the Young Turks spiral go down in flames. So I found one more video of Anna Kasparian. This is great. Watch, she's going to be done with the entire Democratic Party.
If we're going to sit around and wait for our elected lawmakers...
It's too loud.
If we're going to sit around and wait for our elected lawmakers to protect us from these religious zealots and these right-wing authoritarians, man, we have another thing coming. How many times do we need to be disappointed by them? I'm done with them. And personally, I don't speak for everyone in this network. I want to be clear. I'm speaking for myself. I'm done with them completely. The Democratic Party, every single one of them, that includes the squad. I don't care anymore.
See, basically she's where she is with the squad, where he is with Bernie Sanders. And look how happy he is. Look at that. It's like Jimmy's happy because they're going to finally invite him back on the Young Turks. Kurt Metzger is a hack who ran to Jimmy's show. Yeah, I mean, it's weird that, he is effectively right-wing in all of his economic views, every single one of them. But look, I mean, it's like he just found out they're hiring him back.
They have not delivered. They have not delivered. I'm done. It's
Welcome
time
to the party.
Organize.
Also, what do you mean they have not delivered? Progressive voters held their nose in 2016 and cost Hillary Clinton the Electoral College. 75,000 votes in 3 states, a months-long campaign by the Young Turks and others like them, including Jimmy Dore, that Hillary Clinton is not just not the best choice, not just too centrist, might be too business friendly, but a warmongering villain who, probably has a body count, and all that adrenochrome story is probably true. And he did videos and they did videos of her like stumbling. She's mentally ill. She's physically ill. She can't do the office. She's going to die in office, that kind of stuff. Like they were all on board with like winking and nodding at that bullshit in 2016. And what happened? Donald Trump was president and they ended up with Gorsuch instead of Merrick Garland. They ended up with Kavanaugh, and they ended up with Amy Coney Barrett. Now, Democrats get in, start putting, people like Judge Jackson, Sonia Sotomayor, others like them, and even Breyer, Even Merrick Garland himself, who would have been, I think, a better moderating SCOTUS judge than he is head of the DOJ. I think it's the wrong job for him. But what did they do wrong? What did Democrats do wrong? You guys are the ones that handed Trump the presidency. It was ours to lose.
Boy, she's only about 5 years too late.
And again, see what he means? He was there at the time. They were both on board with this. And then, by the way, 5 years too late for fucking what? She and Cenk and he were all talking about Democrats the same way leading up to 2016. No wonder a shit ton of voters went, I don't know, Hillary's pretty awful. She's probably going to, bomb the world because she's a chick anyways. And then, but Trump's a wild card. Maybe we just need to shake up the whole system. Maybe he'll destroy the system and that won't be such a bad thing. And maybe if he gets in, he'll be, he's basically a liberal. If you look at how he talked about abortion a long time ago, meanwhile, he comes in and stacks the fucking court exactly the way Republicans wanted him to do so he could be the puppet master going forward. These assholes were butter emailing her, Hillary the entire time leading up and effectively disenfranchised, they muted the vote by Democrats across the board as best they could. And then 3 weeks before went, fuck, this motherfucker might actually win. You know what? You should vote Democrat. Definitely vote for Hillary. And most of their viewers went, wait a minute. You want me to fucking vote for her now? You just told me she's a baby eater.
Isn't that amazing?
You spent the last 10 months telling me she's a fucking monster and now you want me to vote for her? That's why they left.
What happened? What happened? I thought Jimmy Dore was the problem.
Yeah, you all are. It's the same issue. The only difference is that their money-making scheme is different. Your money-making scheme is now to suck up to Tucker and appear to be the part of the horseshoe that overlaps with right-wing ideology and make your money in a carved-out section of the internet that way. Theirs is to have the illusion of normalcy in terms of how they put their show on, and the giant structure of it gives them the illusion of actually being successful, and therefore it attracts that crowd. It's all a fucking show. Both of these are both tap dances for different crowds.
I thought Jimmy Dore yelling was the problem, and that you got to be nice to politicians. They shouldn't have to listen to my rage-filled demands.
I don't blame her if she was willing to try the world's lamest blackmail attempt to help them. She really put it out there,
After they lost all their viewers, now they're gonna say they don't like the Democrats anymore. You think Anna Kasparian is not going to vote for the Democrat for president against Trump? Don't be a chump. You think Anna Kasparian is not going to vote for the Democrat? She's going to vote for a Green Party person?
Why is that indicative of anything? Again, what's your dunk on her there, that she'll make the adult choice in a realistic situation? It's a private choice anyways. Who gives a rat fuck? As long as everybody votes, I'm for it. But if you're protest voting and throwing it away when it's anywhere near narrow, where you don't have like a 60-40 runaway, even still, if you trust that, I don't know how you could. But Jimmy's basically saying that he doesn't vote for the better of the two, no matter what. It's all protest vote, if he votes at all, which I would find stunning if he actually did it. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's not even registered. If he's registered to vote, I would be shocked if he was registered.
No. Anna Kasparian is a Democrat to her bone. But it's fun to see her say this. This is fun because what she's doing is validating me.
No. She's basically saying that you guys are cut from the same cloth.
And forced to vote. That's what this is. Let's watch it.
If we're going to sit around and wait for our elected lawmakers to protect us from these religious zealots and these right-wing authoritarians, man, we have another thing coming. How many times do we need to be disappointed by them? I'm done with them. And personally, I don't speak for everyone in this network. I want to be clear. I'm speaking for myself. I'm done with them completely. The Democratic Party, every single one of them, that includes the squad, I don't care anymore. They have not delivered. They have not delivered. I'm done. It's time to organize, create organizations that get women and get people in this country what they need. People who are willing to pick up the slack for these disgusting, feckless, corrupt politicians. That's what we need to focus on.
Wow. Welcome to the club, Anna.
See, like basically the destruction of the system is the goal. So by any means necessary, that's what you're looking at.
I'm sorry. Those rage-filled rants.
And by the way, the irony that it's, her and him, and to some degree Cenk, who's just kind of an ancillary character in this whole setup. The fact that all three of them participated in the actual electoral occurrence that gave us a right-wing SCOTUS that was meant to deliver this, where these people lied under oath and said that it was stare decisis, that Roe v. Wade was settled law, and that they would act as effectively moles to overturn it, and that Trump would get in, and that the Democrats didn't have a mandate elsewhere that they could go, wait a second, the American people aren't going to have this. I think that's going to be the reaction, and I think that's going to actually shift things coming this fall. But they're not helping. Him and Anna in this situation are basically saying, don't vote for Democrats in the midterms. Can you think of a better way to guarantee the codifying of the elimination of Roe v. Wade? Period.
It's amazing. She's done, even with AOC. You guys sell a T-shirt of AOC, right? You guys.
Thanks so much for the Venmo, Linda. I'm so sorry for your loss, Al. Sending you lots of love. Thank you so much. For those of you that came in late, my childhood friend Kurt passed away yesterday. He'd been in hospice for a while, fighting cancer, and due to COVID and a lot of, and distance and concern about his health, I wasn't able to see him over the holidays when I wanted to go see him. And you always think you're going to get a chance. And because of our current unpleasantness, especially people who, are on cancer treatment, you have to be extra careful around them. And was hoping that we would get past a window of it where it would be possible again, where he'd have some time left, but he didn't. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You do that, right? So you're done with her? You're done with AOC? Are you done with Nina Turner? She's your coworker, right?
Well, she is now. She lost her race.
Do you want to take a bet on
Also, Nina Turner wasn't in office. You can't blame her for anything that didn't get done in the same way that you're making your point about Tulsi.
The over-under of... Because, I mean, you're probably right. She will say vote Democrat. But how long before she says...
Until the next election.
Vote Democrat.
When the next election rolls around, she's going to tell you to vote for the Democrats.
Right. And that's exactly the problem. He thinks this is something, that's a consistent thing in that she's consistently pro-Democrat. The opposite is true. They always do this. The activist class is their audience the rest of the time. And then when it gets close to the election, they recognize that if all they ever do or is seen to do is mute the vote, which is what they do every time, in an obvious way, like leading up to don't fucking vote, whatever you guys do, like within 3 weeks of the election, then when shit like this goes down, people are going to come crashing down on them. So the 6 weeks leading up, they're like, well, get out and vote. Remember, don't forget to vote. We've got to vote and all that kind of stuff. And it's their own viewers think it's hypocritical. Meanwhile, his voters aren't ever going to fucking vote. This is a circle jerk anyways.
There's no doubt about it. They're not going to lose their access to the Democrats, to Bernie Sanders.
They already have.
Nina Turner.
Nina Turner isn't in office. She lost because of her association with TYT. Honest to God, there is a very strong case to be made that if Nina Turner, all things being equal in her electoral politics, all things being equal in her, campaign strategy, if she had simply not been a regular on TYT, she might have had a better shot. True.
Squad to AOC.
Because of the area she was running in and their reaction to what they believe TYT is and shit like Anna's saying.
See, they're not going to do that.
And their association with Jimmy Dore, #Gavin Long.
I love that lady from Now. People don't think it could happen. Because you told them. You told them.
Yeah.
They did what you said, and you told them it wouldn't happen.
That was fun. We're doing...
That was fun. Yeah, it was fun bashing a woman who's upset about the loss of women's rights, and misreading everything about your own culpability and her culpability and Cheng's culpability in this exact situation. Hold on, let me go back to here. By the way, you know, I don't have a... Who am I to say? Who am I to judge Jimmy Dore? He's got 1 million YouTube subscribers. Who am I to judge TYT for that matter? They've got 4.5 or whatever the fuck, 4.25 million subscribers. How dare I, with my little, 30,000 subscribers? How? I mean, it's bold of me to even dare to question the motives and tactics and ideology of Russell Brand with his 5 million subscribers. How dare I? It's almost as if I recognize that they have done, all three of them, Cenk and Jimmy and Anna, more damage to the progressive cause than any right-wing group could ever hope to do. They are the MTG, Matt Gaetz, and Lauren Boebert of the progressive crowd. They drive away anybody sensible, anybody normal. They turn them off, and they mute that vote and that ideology across the country. They're the same fucking people. And because and if you question that, look at how they expect things to run when they get in office. Yeah, there we go. Hold on.
Every day.
Hold on. Let's see. 5.17 million subscribers. Same as Russell Brand, and he only has to churn out a 17-minute bullshit video every day for the same turnout. And that's their they're on other channels as well. So this isn't their only outlet. They're kind of like Fox, which I think has 7 million. So they're in that general zone. And then they have these other shows that they run that they finance and push. And then they sell stuff behind a show behind the paywall. So it's an entire structure there. And here I am with my little 32,000 subscribers in my channel that's just a couple of years old, where I didn't even start streaming every day until the initial lockdown. And yet, for the record, what I say, what have I told you guys? Even some of the most outlandish stuff. That hasn't turned out to be either true or functional in its regard. And Robert's saying, I think Hal's off base on this one. Wondering why you and TYT fight. Don't you both want progressives to get into office? More AOCs and less Pelosi's and Feinsteins. Okay, no, Robert. You are mischaracterizing my opinion and theirs. I want more Democrats in office, and I do not live under the illusion that AOC would get elected in any Iowa Democratic district, much less a purple or red one. And the sheer number of Democrats that vote 90% of the time versus a tiny sliver that vote, by the way, with Biden 90% of the time for, allegedly more left-leaning reasons, it on the ground has zero difference. It makes materially no difference. And so volume is the only thing that's going to help us. So we need rural Dems elected. We need a broad coalition message. And all this talk of establishment and corporate Dems and all this kind of stuff is bullshit, backdoor, right-wing jargon meant to depress Democratic vote. So no. And I don't get to pick any more than you do whether or not a district picks a Feinstein type or an AOC. But it does matter that they're Democrats. because in mass, on the whole, Democrats have the same priorities that most of the people watching my show and that I have. And Republicans do not. They are antithetical to that. This is not two legs in the same pair of pants. This is not, 6 of one, half dozen of another. I don't play that game. I think it's idiotic. They are part of the, if we can't get everything, we shouldn't want anything. And if we crowd, and the Republicans weaponize that regularly. Jimmy Dore is an offshoot example of that. He's a satellite around that giant Borg planet. And I don't buy it. You don't, if I believe in emergencies, specific emergencies, like a tornado, a hurricane, a collapse of a bridge, you need emergency response to it. But if you respond to every regular growth point in your life as if it was an emergency, you will live in a haze of anxiety, hate, and panic and paranoia. And that's where TYT and Jimmy Dore find themselves, in the same way that MTG and Matt Gaetz and that crowd do. And all true progress in life is incremental. All of it. Especially if it's a keeper. If you want it to survive. The argument in the case in front of the SCOTUS right now is that very thing. The court is overturning Roe v. Wade on the premise that if you read this draft document, this draft opinion, on the premise that it was done too quickly, that it was a revolutionary thing to do, and at that time, 30 plus of the 50 states had still had laws against abortion. And this ran roughshod over the rights of the majority states in the country. Now, granted, as we all know, with the Senate, the way it's set up, that the majority of these states and the way they talk about them and the way that they're run as far as governorships and senatorial control in the federal government, that very small states, many of which have a lot of land but very few people, fewer people than, LA County in the entire state, have way more control over this and have had an outsized control over it, just because Wyoming has outlawed abortion, for example, and California has not. There's a lot more, if you're going by the number of states leaning that way. Clearly the population, the public was behind Roe v. Wade, but on a state-to-state level, which is what they're using, this was a revolutionary push forward. They didn't get the permission to force this on the states, and that's how they're using it to walk it back. And that, it's been on shaky ground ever since. And the trick is while that was necessary at the time, to make those, the rest of the time, make those incremental changes and hang on to the successes that you've made. But the problem is we've been vacillating backwards and forwards, because of shrug off voters for the last 30 years, especially. Kendo says, I've tried to support Democratic candidates with small donations. All they do is bombard me with more email marketing for please more. Feels like Republicans, so I've reached my limit since it feels like much less powerful than voting. Well, donate and then unsubscribe from the mailing list. That's not their fault. That's how all these work. If you signed up for a Republican, they would do exactly the same thing. Go look at anybody who gets the Trump mailing list. Sorry, dead astronaut, I'm not. I'm not wrong. So I will continue to make my decisions about the politicians that I vote for as an adult, and continue trying to move everything forward as best I can, always. In the same way that I get up every day, brush my teeth, shower, eat, exercise, and work like every other fucking human on the planet, and don't expect that, oh, no, I went to the gym for 9 hours one day with a picket sign, and therefore I'm done. It didn't work. I've still got the extra weight, and I'm not healthy. So it obviously doesn't work. And you know what the problem is? It's these fucking gyms. That's essentially the argument you're hearing from TYT. That's the argument you're hearing from Jimmy Dore. That it's not, it's the fucking gyms. It's the people telling you to eat right. That's ultimate, because I've listened to them for a long time, and I did it once for a little bit, and it didn't work. Because nothing meaningful works unless you keep doing it. Especially if it's based allegedly on your ideological or philosophical beliefs. I'm sorry, but life is full of constant gardening. And if you're too immature to understand that, there are plenty of shows for you. That's the thing. But I appreciate the trolls being here, I will say. And I'm glad to have this conversation. But I'm not going to be, you're not going to find Jimmy Dore running a video of me at any time shit talking the establishment of the Democratic Party as a gotcha while I tell you to vote like an adult when we come to the election. I'm going to have problems with certain ones. And if they're inside your zone and you actually have a chance to put somebody in that will actually do the work that can get elected, do it. But if they can't, I'm going to say the mature thing is to take the 90% voting record from somebody as opposed to hand the seat over to a Republican, because what you end up with is the Roberts court. And then having him go back and look at even reference 2016 as a finally she woke up to the thing, when in reality they're both equally responsible for that shit, because they don't think of this as in an adult way. I don't think I'm not going to hold my breath and wait for them to be embarrassed by it, but I'm also not going to take them seriously as a political movement at all. Why would I? So thanks, trolls, for being here when you are here. I appreciate it. I don't doubt I have a couple of, TYT viewers who are dropping in who are all angry and the like. Eventually, my theory is that if I just keep soldiering and telling you guys what I think and doing my job that I do on this show and in my art as an actor and a musician and elsewhere, that you'll eventually come around that I mean well and I'm trying to make the world better for real, not just so that I can make, angry clickbaity videos with big I totally destroyed thumbnails to garner an audience of people who would rather sit on a stationary bike and scream about the wind in their hair. That said, I'm going to take off. And I'm sorry if today's show is, like I said, a little more muted than normal. I've had a in and out day emotionally where I've been, grief ebbs and flows, and it's a very strange thing. And many of you know that after my buddy Robert Hall passed away, I've lost 8 close people during the pandemic, and then in the kind of ensuing year afterwards. And so I'll always be, as best I can, I'll try and be here to do my show and the like, but I'll also be honest about where I am in terms of my ability to deliver. And if I ever get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I can't, please be forgiving if you can, boss, because you guys are my boss. If I need occasionally to take a day when stuff like this comes up. And like I said, I love doing it. I love being here with you guys, and it helps. It helps me too. So I don't want you to think that I'm just gonna force myself or phone it in those moments. But when it gets to be, too much, I'll let you guys know, and I might beg out on a couple of those too. I don't know when the memorial service will be. I don't even know if it'll be at a time when I can make it back because of work and my family stuff. I hope to. So there might be a day coming up where I fly back to Kentucky. And I mean, my mom's looking into it right now to find out all the details. But you know, I've been honest with you about why this show started, and that it matters. Every day, getting up, putting one foot in front of the other, carrying the weight that you have, whatever it is. By me being honest with you about those moments when I have them, I want you to know that I'm aware that you, whoever you are, whether you like my show or not, whether you're angry with what I say or not, whether you agree with me or not, I'm aware that more than likely you've got some stones in the bag that you're carrying over your shoulder that were added by life against your will. And that weight can be a drag. And I know you can. I know what it takes when those things happen, just standing up those days, right? Just getting, just moving forward can be rough. And so I want you to know I know it. And sometimes I feel like if you see me doing it, it'll maybe remind you that you can do it too. And the grief and anger and sorrow of the last few years and the loss that a lot of us have experienced. Many of you know I know people who knew Taylor Hawkins personally, and I'm watching them go through this. I didn't get to know him, but I can see through their response how heartbroken they are, right? And so I get it. Every single day you get up, you get out of bed and you put your feet on the floor, and some days it's just that little huffing noise you make when you get up out of bed, like, here we go. But you do it. And I see you do it. I see people do it all the time. I see them in airports, and I see them in, waiting for cabs and in restaurants. You can look at them and maybe that's the day they got some bad news. So, as we say around here, reach out. Find somebody, a friend you haven't talked to in a long time. Somebody that's, a back burner friend that you take for granted to some degree. They're out there. And a text or a short message to just go, hey, thought about you yesterday, might be the very thing that helps them get up off the bed that day. So take care of yourself, and I'll see you tomorrow.